inaugural homegrown I'm not homegrown, but
goddamn,
an alumni, a main guy, an elite. But putting it on Chris Jericho going on to this Wednesday night show is going to bring more eyes to your product. Also, Jericho is a proven champion who is going to do the belt justice and really put the belt over, let alone put your show over, where Paige isn't as much of a proven commodity. So it's scary. I was going back and forth, but I'm gonna, especially now that you picked Jericho, I'm definitely gonna dig my heels on Adam Page.
I hope
it's
you're
cool
right.
That we both picked somebody different.
I really do. I think it's better for the company. But I think Jericho as a super heel dark horse champion could do good things for young guys.
Oh, he could. And at the same time, Chris Jericho not getting the title and going off on a you screwed me sort of heel deal and shit like that is also awesome. Either way it would be great for Jericho.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Hangman Adam Page, but I dig it. Either one is the right choice for different reasons, I think.
Uh-huh. The only problem is if you give it to Jericho, Vince has always got that, his guy was your first champion. That's all right. Vern Gagne's guy made Vince McMahon a millionaire. Yeah.
Hulk Hogan was Vern Gagne's guy. He was one of his main guys. He's the one that gave him the name Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
So, and then Pacey, we have to have a tiebreaker, and boy, this tiebreaker wrote itself last week.
Yes, it did.
So it was like we didn't even have to think of a tiebreaker. It was already there. And, of course, the tiebreaker is going to be, will CM Punk make a live appearance at AEW?
Don't worry, Fat Mac, I will jump all over that landmine. Of fucking course he will.
Doesn't mean a taped promo. It doesn't mean a clip from StarCast. It means a live appearance. With that being said, that could mean a corner man. That could mean coming out and just doing a live promo.
There? What if he is there, but he's just one of the Dark Order's minions and he never reveals it at all?
And if you can prove it through fingerprint and DNA testing, Pastey, I'll give it to you.
I could see him to do it. I almost guarantee if you don't see him, that's what he does.
Or, he hangs out in his posh hotel room and watches it and eats lobster with AJ Lee. I mean, that doesn't sound too bad either.
No, not at all.
Oh, that's it. That's all out. As I said, I'm going to assume one more buy-in match and one more main roster match. But I like
we don't got
matches.
No Orange Cassidy on this card.
We don't have a lot of people, but you can't throw everybody on there. I mean, that's fine. I like 8, and I really hope they don't dig their heels in the ground and push this to be another 7-hour show like the last one, because people have been vocal. They don't want that.
If they call this their WrestleMania, though,
but
I can't fault them for that.
You can't have 2 WrestleManias in a fucking year.
No, but you can have a WrestleMania and a SummerSlam.
Well, neither one needs to be 7 hours. I can fault them for it because nobody wants it. If your fans don't want it, why are you doing it?
I think 7 hours is bad. I think 5 hours is fine.
5 hours is fine if there's not a 2-hour pre-show. I don't like 5 hours. Give us a little over 4. What can you not do in a little over 4 hours?
4 hours and 20 minutes. That's what we need.
There you go. I like it. Book it.
That's the new standard time for pay-per-views.
And that is all for the Elite this week, Pastey.
That's right, Fat Mac. But now we are bringing you into this week's Savage Sentinel. Coming up first, we're going to break down the top 10 PWI 500 2019 wrestlers of the world.
That was such an awkward way to say that.
I know. I walked myself into a corner there.
I love it.
I love it, though. It stays.
It's perfect. This is an interesting top 10. I don't agree with the top 10, and I don't agree with the order, but I would argue every year is about the same. I mean, every year. It's subjective. even though they have
I feel like
criteria,
the last few years, like I've been more inclined to be like, yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
Even if there's people you didn't agree with, you could kind of see why.
This year, I'm like, God, it really wasn't a great year for wrestling, was it? Oh, that's bad.
You know, I had a PWI 500 around here, and I was going to read the criteria. I don't know where I put it. Now I'm just dropping shit. Huh. So, I was going to just read what the criteria was, but I don't know where it is. So, Pacey, you want to read us off the list, and we'll let's go over the whole list, and then we'll kind of discuss it.
Then we'll break it down. Break it down. Okay. Coming in at number 1 is Seth freaking Rollins. Number 2 is Daniel Bryan. Number 3 is AJ Styles. 4 is Kofi Kingston. I think that's got to be the first time he's been on the top of this chart.
Yeah, first time in the top 10.
Good for him, I suppose. Still a little higher than he deserves to be, I think. But we'll get around to that. Kazuchika Okada comes in at number 5. Number 6 is Johnny Gargano. Roman Reigns at 7. Kenny Omega at 8. And Hiroshi Tanahashi at 9, with Will Ospreay rounding out number 10. It's a list. It's a list. I'm surprised Daniel Bryan's so high. I'm surprised Seth Rollins is so high. I'm surprised Brock Lesnar's not on the list, even though I think that's the criteria you're looking into, is number of matches in a year.
Let me go run and grab a different one. I know I had one around here, but I don't see it. So I'm going to go run and grab a different one. It'll be just a second. Get talking, Pasty.
So yeah, it's very interesting to me, the composition of this list. It definitely seems more thrown together than in years past, but I guess this year has been a huge mess of thrown together wrestling on behalf of Vince McMahon and most of wrestling. AEW's really thrown a wrench in every promotion's wheelhouse. And God, Johnny Gargano's there. Adam Cole isn't. He's one half of that amazing feud. Tommaso Ciampa, I mean, that was last year, so I get that. I'm surprised what has Roman Reigns done? I mean, he's won the ultimate battle against leukemia.
That's exactly why he got it. You know that.
Yeah.
Whether it's right or wrong.
What has he done beyond that? He's almost gotten killed a couple of times.
And we don't know by who.
Oh, other than it's Rowan or something that it came out on SmackDown. Although it still looked like the other guy who looked like Rowan that they showed him the week before. So I'm like, what?
Right.
I think it's Daniel Bryan. Obviously, Rowan came from walking the opposite direction of where the forklift was. They completely reshot that whole thing so they could include him in the background.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
But yeah, I mean...
So I grabbed an old PWI 500. I just grabbed the first one I found. People may be surprised at how many PWIs I have lying around my house. This is from 2015, so it is...
Almost as many as Playboy's.
Almost. Playboy doesn't even have nudity in it anymore, buddy. Oh, how ironic is this, Pasty? I grabbed the 2015 PWI 500. Who's number 1? Seth freaking Rollins.
All right. He deserved it that year.
First, I'm going to tell you what the criteria is that they use to pick the PWI 500, and this is in order of importance. So the first thing I say is the most important, the last thing I say is the least important. So, the criteria for the PWI 500 that they look into is win-loss record, first and foremost. Second, technical ability. Third, influence on the sport. Fourth, success against the highest grade of competition. That means there might be one of the best wrestlers in the world who's wrestling a bunch of jabronis in some indie place. You're just not going to make the cut because you haven't faced Roman Reigns and Kenny Omega.
So does that mean that the year James Ellsworth was being helped by Dean Ambrose, he could have topped this list?
Well, he would have met one of the criterias. Definitely not technical ability or win-loss record or influence. Anyways... 6 is success against the most diverse competition. So traveling the world, having different types of matches, so forth. And the least, but still counts as criteria, is activity. Now, it says wrestlers must meet the following requirements to be considered for the 500. They have to have had 20 matches during the evaluation period, or at least one match in 7 separate months. And was that the only other criteria we got there? I think that was... So those are kind of your main things that we're going with there.
Would keep Brock Lesnar off of any given year, really.
Lately, yes. Because even, in this one, that's the example they use. In 2015, it says... Brock Lesnar, Triple H, and Undertaker are not qualified for the PWI 500 because they don't meet that specific criteria. So Seth Rollins, I'm not surprised at him being number one because I don't know who else would be there. Nobody else. This is another year. I think last year we talked about it, and this year nobody made a huge splash this year, other than Kofi, but it wasn't. It was huge for a different reason.
Yeah. I'm surprised like Jay White's not up there.
Yeah. I'm not a big Jay White fan, but I would have definitely understood him being on the list. Johnny
there's
Gargano.
500, so they're somewhere on the list, obviously.
For sure.
I wonder, is Dean Ambrose and Jon Moxley on the list?
No.
No,
they don't do that. Roman Reigns I wouldn't put on the list. Gargano I understand. Okada, as much as I love him, 5 actually is probably about right. He didn't do anything great, but he didn't do anything bad at all.
So yeah, 5 out of 100, 500 is where he belongs for not doing anything great, really.
Tanahashi I probably wouldn't have in the top 10. Will Ospreay I can understand. He belongs at the bottom of the top 10. Omega I'd probably have a little bit higher, but then again, he went a few months with not really doing much in between being done with New Japan and going to AEW. He hasn't wrestled a lot this year.
Yeah, and so a lot of the AEW guys won't qualify for this year either because not enough matches.
Yeah. And even if you had enough matches, it wasn't a ton of them. You look at Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, Okada, Gargano. They were having, hundreds of matches this year.
Yeah.
And some great ones. And I do want to mention, unless you mentioned while I was up running around looking for books, of this top 10, the last 5 number ones all made the top 10. So, back in 2014, Daniel Bryan was number 1. 2015, as I just mentioned, Seth Rollins was number 1, so he's a 2-time number 1 PWI 500 now. 2016, Roman Reigns was number 1. My boy Kazuchika Okada in 2017 got the top of the list. And last year, the Omega Man, Kenny Omega, was number 1. But there's 6 number 1 candidates on here because AJ Styles got the number 1 spot in 2010, making him the only TNA/Impact wrestler to ever get the number 1 spot on PWI 500 while they were a TNA wrestler for wrestling for TNA or Impact Wrestling.
It's really nice to see the consistency that you're able to have in wrestling nowadays.
That is good. And I think it's because it's so much more open now.
Because some years the top 10 is completely fucking different. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it'll never look like that again.
I mean, think about it. The Miz was number 1 one year. What?
He'll be number 1 again. Just you wait.
What?
Just you wait. I think he's got one more WWE title run in him.
Certainly don't think he has a PWI 500 number 1 spot left in him, but... Prove me wrong, Miz. Prove me wrong. But somebody who's not wrong, Pasty, is something... I was really excited to hear this, and maybe we put a little too much into this, but I I think this is cool. It's near and dear to my heart, and I thought it just had to be said because you didn't see a lot of news about it, and I think it's huge, and I think it's awesome. Kiera Hogan is a hero, folks, for many reasons. But the main reason is that she has made Impact Wrestling woke. Because pASTEY, Kiera Hogan, who is openly bisexual and has gone public with her relationship with fellow wrestler Diamante, who is a woman, is having